Okay, everyone. It looks like the waiting room has slowed down. We don't have too many people coming in, so we can go ahead and get started. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our Student Org Advisor Welcome and Overview. My name is Tyler. I am the Coordinator of Student Involvement here at CSUSM. I believe I have met or know most of you, but I do see a couple of new names and faces in the room, so it's nice to meet you via Zoom, and thanks for coming today. I oversee student organizations on campus, and so the purpose of today's meeting is to welcome you as advisors and give you some basic information to help you feel prepared for this academic year in your role as an advisor. So we appreciate you taking some time to join us today. So first, I just want to start on behalf of the Student Leadership and Involvement Center with a big thank you to you all for stepping up to serve in this role as a student organization advisor. We recognize that this isn't necessarily part of your formal job description to serve as an advisor for these groups. You're volunteering your time and energy and effort. And we just really appreciate you stepping up to do that. We really feel that participating in these groups has the potential to be a transformational experience for our students, and you are helping to facilitate that for them. So please join me in giving yourselves a round of applause and a thank you for serving as student organization advisors. So for those of you who are not familiar with our office, we here in the Student Leadership and Involvement Center, also known as SLIC, we oversee student organizations on campus. So some of you might be familiar with who we are and what we do, but for those of you who aren't, our mission here in SLIC is to develop students' capacity to lead and initiate positive social change. And through inclusive programs, we engage students in leadership and co-curricular opportunities that foster the two-quit experience. So our vision is for all students to thrive by finding community through enriching and meaningful leadership and involvement experiences. And the three primary areas that we oversee are fraternity and sorority life, leadership programs, and student organizations. Fraternity and sorority life is technically part of student organizations. Those are not necessarily separate entities, in case you are not familiar. But we are working hard to revamp all of our programs in the couple of years after the campus shut down, and working on strategizing about how we can collaborate and connect these programs as we grow and expand our offerings to students. So that's a quick overview of who we are and what we do. Our professional staff team is here today. As I shared, once again, for those of you who are joining a couple minutes late, my name is Tyler. I am the coordinator of student involvement here in SLIC. That is a fancy way of saying that I oversee all of our student orgs on campus. And the rest of our team is here as well. And I want to give each of them a chance to introduce themselves too. So Tony, would you like to start? Oh, hang on, I might need to give you the opportunity to unmute. 1 second. There you go. Go ahead.
Thanks, Tyler. I appreciate it. And as Tyler mentioned earlier, thank you all for this service, volunteering your time to help out our student organizations. We are a small but mighty staff, but at the same time, having you assist with all of their passions and goals is really helpful. We provide a basic security net, but it's also helpful for us to know that they have advisors like yourselves to be able to go talk through subject matter experts, or that you're just passionate in the areas that they are running their student organization in. So as was mentioned, my name is Tony Pang. I serve as the director for the Student Leadership and Involvement Center. And so I've been here since the spring of 2020 and really have been more and more excited as we've kind of been able to see our student organizations get back to what life, I think it was what they imagined it would be more like. So I'm sure that many of you have also had that adjustment and as well have tried to aid in that process for our student organization. So thank you again for all your help, and thank you for your continued work with that. I do want to pass it along to two of our new staff members. So we just had two, Christian and Michaela, join us in August. And so I will allow them to introduce themselves and talk a little bit about what they help oversee within our office. So I'll start with Christian.
Hello, folks. Thank you, Tony. Again, my name is Christian, he, him pronouns, and I serve as the coordinator of fraternity and sorority life. So I am excited to really support and oversee 16 of our currently recognized fraternity and sorority organizations on campus. We do have 3 new groups coming on this fall, so that will put us at 19 organizations in total. So we are excited to see the growth and the interest of our organizations and continuing to really support those currently recognized on campus. One of our goals this year is really to help elevate our culturally based organizations, which are under our Multicultural Greek Council, along with our Black Greek lettered organizations. So we are excited for that continued support to elevate them, support them within their membership growth and retention, but also just in general, right, helping all of our organizations grow post-pandemic, recognizing that there was a small decline due to some circumstances. So I'm excited to be here, been in this role for 2 months. I'm also an alum from the institution, graduated in 2017. So kind of excited to really give back full circle to the community that helped me grow as well. So I will pass it off to Michaela.
Thanks, Christian. Hi, everyone. My name is Michaela Hall, she, her pronouns. And I just joined the team in August, like Tony said, as our coordinator of leadership programs. So our goal for this year is to kind of help restart our leadership programs, which took a little bit of a break after the pandemic, and then with some staffing changes. So we are back and we are excited to hopefully provide some more leadership workshops, retreats, and certificate programs for our students all around campus to be involved in. So this semester, we're going to be a little bit more developing, with next semester doing a little bit of a pilot program. So you will hopefully see some more workshops start to pop up over this year and definitely into next year. And then I'll pass it back to Tyler.
Thank you all for being here. We're really excited to have a full team again. For a few months, it was just me and Tony kind of steering the ship here in Slick. So we're really excited to be back at full capacity and start building up some of our programs again. So we also have a team of 5 student staff members who are not here today, but you will find them at our front desk and in our office if you or any of your students stop by. So even if I am not available, if your students stop by with questions about their organization, somebody from our team should be able to help them and point them in the right direction. I want to start today by sharing some important basic student organization info that you should all be aware of as advisors. And to start, I'd like to share a little bit about some basic CSU system-wide student organization policies. So our standard policies for student organizations come from the CSU system, and these policies apply to all of our 23 campuses across the CSU. So the policy that governs a lot of what we do with student organizations is Executive Order 1068. And if you like, you can go to our website and pull that up and read it word for word, but I am going to boil it down for you here so that you have a basic understanding. So the Executive Order 1068 outlines the basic requirements that student organizations must meet in order to be recognized organizations on our campus. First, every organization must have a president, treasurer, and an advisor. That's you. That is required for all organizations to be a recognized organization. There are some additional requirements on top of that for the president and treasurer. They must maintain a 2.0 GPA. If they're an undergraduate student, they must be enrolled in at least 6 units. If they are a graduate student, they must be enrolled in at least 3 units. So graduate students are eligible to be involved in student organizations and serve as officers. And generally, they must also be in good standing with the university. That usually means related to student conduct issues, things like that. So we do a check for that every semester to make sure that all of our officers have met these requirements. If somebody is ineligible for whatever reason, we will reach out to them, offer support and inform them that they will need to transfer their permission or their position to another member of their organization, and just make sure that they have access to resources so that they are well as a student. That is our first priority. If we have trouble reaching students who are ineligible, we may also reach out to you as well to get some assistance. So please just be aware of that. But most semesters, this isn't a huge issue. There's only a handful of students who we have to connect with. Every organization must also have a constitution and bylaws document on file with our office. And if there are ever any substantive changes to that document, our office needs to be notified of that. And I will share a little bit more about that in just a few minutes. We also ask that every organization maintain a current roster with our office, and every organization must have a minimum of 5 members. So every year we ask each organization to submit an updated roster with us, but we encourage organizations to keep that up to date every semester as well. And those rosters are stored on a website called Tuquit Tracks, which I'll share a little bit more about shortly. We also have mandatory trainings and agreements that the president, treasurer, and advisor are expected to complete and participate in. So for example, one of those is our officer and advisor agreement form. You all have hopefully signed that by this point. Hopefully that sounds familiar to you, but that is basically our contract that all presidents, treasurers, and advisors sign, saying that they agree to follow campus policies related to student organizations. We also, about a month ago in mid-August, just had our large officer training for all student organizations. So presidents and treasurers are expected to complete that annually, and we have been working with groups to complete a makeup if anyone missed that. So those are trainings that we are expected to provide by the CSU and are mandatory on an annual basis. This session here for you all is not a mandatory training. This is just something that we offer to help you all feel prepared. Lastly, all organizations are expected to follow CSU system-wide and Cal State San Marcos campus policies. Essentially, just as they would as individual students, organizations are also expected to abide by all campus policies related to their own conduct and their organization's conduct. And potentially, if a student violates the certain policies, if it is within the context of their activities as an organization, the organization could be held accountable as well. So on the slide here is a picture of our annual timeline for student organizations. This is to help you have an understanding of sort of the flow of student organization activities throughout the year. So right now we're in this August and September block. As I mentioned, in mid-August, before the start of the semester, we host our Student Organization Leadership Conference, also known as SOLS. And that is our officer training for presidents and treasurers. We also last week just wrapped up our Student Org Fair, and that is a semesterly event where many of the orgs table outside to spread the word about their organization and connect with interested members. After we get through the first couple weeks of the semester, in October, November, December, that's when orgs are engaging in their typical activities like regular meetings, hosting events, the standard things that student organizations typically do throughout the year. Our new organization registration process also takes place in the fall semester. That will open October 1st. That is the process for brand new organizations to become recognized. So there are certain steps that groups need to complete to establish as a recognized student organization on campus. And there's more information about that on our website if you or any of your students are interested in starting a new organization. In January, we do some similar things. We host another student org leadership conference in January before the start of the spring semester. That is primarily for those brand new organizations, but we also invite some of our new officers from fraternities and sororities or other organizations that have changed leadership throughout the fall that we know of. We also host another org fair in the spring. So if any of your groups missed the fall event, do not fret. We will also offer an opportunity in the spring. And then the remainder of the spring semester, in addition to regular organization activities, that is also when the annual recognition process takes place. So annual recognition is a process that happens every year in the spring. And that's when organizations send us updated information, updated rosters to be a recognized organization for the following year. So please be on the lookout for information about that in the spring. And we ask that you do everything you can to make sure that your students are aware of that so that your organization can continue as a recognized organization for next year. We also encourage organizations to prepare for that in the spring by holding officer elections so that they can tell us who their incoming officers will be the following year. We do know some organizations are on a calendar year leadership transition schedule. That's okay too. We can work with that. But for our groups that are on an academic year schedule, we encourage them to have their elections in the spring. And thank you to Tony for dropping links in the chat as I talk. Something that we really want you and your students to be aware of is that if there is ever a change to an organization's president, treasurer, advisor, constitution, or name outside of the annual recognition period, we ask that the organization notify us of that by submitting this form we have available called a student org change form. That just helps notify us of the change to the organization so that we can provide paperwork and training to new officers and just have official documentation of these changes, because sometimes student organizations make changes to their leadership but don't tell us about it, and then we have a hard time getting a hold of the students. So this is a way for us to know who the current contacts are for your organization and make sure that all the information for your organization is up to date. So that's really important. This is only required outside of that annual recognition period that I mentioned. If there are ever any changes during the annual recognition period to the officers, to the Constitution, that's all incorporated in that process. Next, we can go over some basic resources for you and your students. So I highly encourage you to share these resources with your students. Hopefully they're already aware of them. We've shared a lot of these at their training and via email, but it doesn't hurt for our students to be reminded and hear it from different voices. So the first resource is our student organization's website. And I am going to reshare my screen and walk you through this because I want to highlight a couple of things on our website. Okay. Just adjusting my windows here. Bear with me a moment. Okay. So it looks like Tony is dropping links in the chat as we go. So thank you, Tony, again. This is our student organization's website. I encourage you to bookmark this and so that you have it easily available. But we worked really hard over the last couple of years to make this a useful resource for our student leaders. We always recommend that this website be a student's first stop if they ever have questions about something related to running their organization. This is probably going to be the best way for them to get an answer quickly, rather than having to come to our office or send us an email. But if a student can't find what they're looking for, of course, they can always contact us and we'll be available to help them. So the primary resources I want to highlight on this site are here at the bottom. We have that student org change form that I just mentioned so that that's easily accessible all throughout the year. We also have the officer and advisor agreement form available here too. If there are ever any changes to the org leadership throughout the year and you need to find that form, it's right here. There are also different sections for a lot of common questions that we get from student organizations. So when we get to the annual recognition period, for example, all the information and requirements will be on this page. There's timelines and links to everything. So everything students will need to know about that process will be on this page. If your organization often plans events on campus, there's this event planning page that has all kinds of information about how to reserve space on campus, campus policies related to events, all kinds of stuff. Another common question we get is about fundraising. How do students raise money for their organization? This page has some information about different options that are available to student organizations. And there's also a link to our student organization giving site, which is an online forum where anyone can donate to a recognized student organization on campus. We also have a link here to the ASI account services page. So every recognized organization on campus has a fund account where they can store money for their organization, and that is housed in ASI. So that's where all the money for student organizations lives. And this page has information and instructions for how they can spend their money to purchase supplies and also deposit money into their account. Lastly, we also have this really cool training resources page where we have an archive of our officer training that we just completed in August, excuse me. So there are links to video recordings, slide presentations on a variety of topics. And we also have our fall workshop schedule. This is something that I want to highlight as well. So this fall, we are offering a series of workshops on a variety of different topics so that student organization leaders can continue their training throughout the semester. And organizations that send a representative to at least 5 of the 7 workshops are going to be eligible to receive some supplemental funding from ASI at the end of the semester. So that's a really cool opportunity that we've worked with ASI to offer to our organizations, and we're really excited about. So unfortunately, I can't confirm the specific amount that organizations will be receiving just yet. We're waiting for final confirmation on that, but student orgs will be eligible to receive a little bit of extra funding if they complete this opportunity. So that's our website. We hope you find it useful. One last thing I want to highlight on our website is it also contains a link to our student org handbook. I am working on finishing an updated version of this. I'm hoping to post that soon, but if a student cannot find the answer to their question on the regular website, they can also check out our student org handbook. That is our much more detailed A to Z guide of all things student orgs. So that has really specific information about policies, instructions for anything that has to do with running and operating a student organization. So I also recommend checking out that resource as well. We also have a site that we use for our student organizations called Tukwit Tracks, also known as Presence. And this is our hub for student organizations on campus. And I want to show you this briefly as well. I'll drop the link in the chat for this. So this is a website that any student or staff member on campus can visit to find more information about student organizations that we have on campus. So this is our organization directory in Tukwit Tracks. And as you can see, all of our recognized student organizations and even some of our campus departments have profiles on this page. So for example, if I were a student and I were to click on any one of these groups, it would take me to a page that looks like this. This is our page for the Student Leadership and Involvement Center. You can add all kinds of cool information, videos, pictures, links. You can even embed certain social media feeds in here. So this is a really great resource for student orgs to share information with students about their organization. So they can post their meeting times, contact information, signature events, all kinds of stuff. And our student leaders have been trained on this at officer training in August. They have access to the admin side of this site. So they can come in here anytime and update all of this information. They can also use this to manage and update their roster. They can store documents in here. They can also post and promote events and track attendance at those events. So this is a really neat tool that student organizations have available at their disposal. And so if you would like to learn more about this, you can reach out to me. There's also a video about it on our training resource page on our website, where I go into a little bit more detail about all the features that it has to offer. So you can check that out as well. So lastly, on top of all those resources we have available online, you or your students can always contact our office if you have questions about anything related to your student organization. We're happy to help and answer any questions that you have. Next, I would like to chat for a few minutes about some general tips for you for serving as an effective advisor. You can also think about this as our expectations and our hope and our hopes for you as well. So first, this is a very friendly reminder. This is coming from a good place. Please remember that these groups are intended to be student-led organizations. So we sometimes have advisors who are very passionate about their organizations that they are advising, and we love that and we appreciate it. But please remember that the students are intended to be leading these organizations, and you are there to provide general guidance and support and empower the students to make their own decisions and build their organization into what they want it to be. So please just keep that in mind as you embark in this role. Whoops, I apologize. The animations are a little out of order. So how can you do that? We encourage you to think of yourself as more of a coach, rather than being the point person to run the whole organization and dictate everything that needs to happen. We encourage you to empower your students to take initiative and problem solve and run the organization on their own. You can be there to be a sounding board and provide guidance and support, but ultimately it should be your students running the organization. We also ask and hope that you will provide context and support the continuity of the organization. So we know that the leadership of these groups changes from year to year, and you may have different officers every year, but if you are a long-term advisor, you're there over time, right? And so you're familiar with things the organization typically does, reasons why you do things the way you do, and we hope you will provide that context to your students, while again, also allowing them to make their own decisions about the direction of the organization. We also encourage you and give you permission to hold your students accountable as well. Make sure they're following campus policies and ask them questions about the decisions that they are making and whether or not they really are living up to the values of your organization and the campus. And remind them and make sure that they're following our deadlines here in SLIC for annual recognition. So this is intended to be a learning opportunity for them as they learn how to lead a group of their peers. And part of that is going to be you challenging them and holding them accountable as well. And so one of the best ways to fulfill all of these expectations is to make sure that you are checking in regularly and maintaining communication with your students. Ideally, we don't want you to just sign the papers once a year and then never talk to them, right? We hope that this is a collaborative relationship. We understand that's a two-way street and that sometimes students are not the best at keeping you in the loop, but we encourage you to be a bug in their ear and check in regularly and ask about what they're up to and if they need support and how you can be there to work with them. And lastly, I want to remind you that it is okay to not know everything. This is something I hear from advisors a lot, whether they are new or they've been doing this a while. We are here to help you. If you don't know everything, that's okay. You're not expected to know every single student organization policy. You're not even expected to know absolutely everything and be an expert about what the organization does and how they operate. But as long as you are putting in a good faith effort, we are here to assist you and answer questions when you don't know something. Lastly, some fall reminders, and then we'll take a few minutes at the end for questions. I see a couple of questions in the chat, so just know that I see you and we'll have time for questions at the end. So one important thing that we will ask you all to complete as advisors is the Campus Security Authority training. So under the GN Cleary Act, student organization advisors are considered campus security authorities. And so I will be providing a list of all of our student organization advisors to the campus, and you will be receiving an email link and a reminder to complete this training in CSU Learn. So that'll be the same platform that you use to complete all of your standard HR trainings every year. And so it'll look very similar to that. So please just keep an eye out for that. Some of you might already be designated as CSEAs and have completed this training already, but please just keep an eye out for that. Even though we are past the student org fair, we still have some really fun opportunities for student organizations to participate in the rest of the semester. One of our signature events is Student Org Market Days. And we usually host 2 to 3 of those each semester. How many of you have been to Student Org Market Days? It's the day where a lot of our groups are tabling outside of the USU and they're selling food or club t-shirts or arts and crafts. Have any of you been to that event? A couple of you? Awesome. So this is a really great opportunity for student orgs to get the word out about their organization and raise a little bit of money for their org as well. So I actually just sent the first sign up form out to all the orgs yesterday, so that the sign up for our October events is now open, and groups can put their name in for that to sign up and participate in that event. I know I mentioned this briefly when I was showing you our website, but one more time, we are offering a series of workshops this semester for organizations to continue their training. So we'll be talking about things like event planning and marketing and social media, interpersonal communication, lots of interest, or budgeting, lots of interesting topics that will be practical to them in running their student organization. And those will typically be on Thursdays in our office during U hour. Here are the dates. They're also on our website that I just showed you. And if our orgs participate in 5 of those, they'll be eligible to receive some extra money. Okay, that is about it for everything I had planned to discuss today. But I want to take some time and answer questions.